Thank you for tuning in to the Catch a Lift Fund's Coach's Corner podcast. We hope you enjoy today's episode and will consider supporting the Catch a Lift Fund and the veterans we serve. Visit our website for more information about our programs at catchaliftfund.org. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis or suicidal thoughts, please call 988 or the Veterans Crisis Line 988, followed immediately by the number 1. The views and opinions expressed during the Coach's Corner podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the Catch a Lift Fund. The Catch a Lift Fund does not verify or warrant the truth or accuracy of statements made during the podcast, and statements therein are not to be construed as an official policy or position of the Catch a Lift Fund. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein should be construed as health, medical, or other professional advice. The Coach's Corner is a place for veterans to connect, heal, and share their stories. I'm Melissa Luke, the host of the Coach's Corner podcast. I am a U.S. Army Iraq War veteran, coach, and program director for the Catch a Lift Fund. The Coach's Corner is sponsored by ID Technologies. Welcome to this week's episode of the Coach's Corner. We're so excited to be joined by U.S. Army veteran Marcus Hayward. Marcus is a Purple Heart recipient, Cal veteran athlete, teacher, and so much more. Welcome to this week's episode of the Coach's Corner. Marcus, welcome.
Thanks for having us. Oh, thanks for having me, I should say.
It's great to have you today, Marcus. Let's jump right into it. Marcus, talk to us about your decision to join the Army.
Oh, man. So the decision came after I went to school. I went to college. I remember I walked into my admissions office and said, I want to do something where I wear like khakis and like a polo and sneakers. Like, oh, you want to be an athletic trainer? I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to be an athletic trainer. So I took 4 classes. To start, I had skipped the fall year of my freshman year of college. So I graduated high school, missed the fall deadline, so I didn't go to college until winter of that year, and just wasn't ready for it. Like, I was not prepared, I wasn't mature enough. I took 4 classes. I failed 3 out of the 4 classes, unfortunately. And Sally Mae wrote me a nice letter saying, "Hey, we're not gonna like pay you for you to fail and go to school." So my childhood best friend had joined, and he went reserve. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go, but I'm going to go like full in. I'm not going to go reserve. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to hopefully find out some stuff about me and get some life experiences. And that's pretty much what it was.
What MOS did you join with, Marcus?
I was a 31 Bravo military police officer.
What was the training like to become a military police officer?
Oh, man. It was, to me, I think it's different now from the stories I've heard.
Okay.
Like, I joined in 2004, February 2004, so it's literally been 2023, so 19 years. Yeah, I think I almost retired had I stayed in, or been able to stay in. But it was interesting. I remember telling myself, like, it's a job. Like, they're doing a job at like yelling at you and and kind of beating you up a little bit, not physically, but mentally and everything. And the first probably like 2-3 weeks were miserable. Like, getting up, getting yelled at, like blinking the wrong way or sneezing, and everything you did was wrong. And a mental game of, hey, like, get through it. Becomes easier, and then probably like halfway through basic training, you realize, like, I can do this. It's kind of a challenge, but it's a fun challenge, and you see yourself changing both mentally and physically, like loving the push-ups, loving getting yelled at and having to do a little physical rigor for it, but also gaining some self-confidence in yourself and your ability as a person in general. So by the end of it, I loved it. Like, I mean, I still hold my drill sergeants in like high regard till today.
Marcus, you would go on to deploy for the first time through Iraq as an MP. Talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like.
It was interesting. We deployed to Missoula, Iraq in December 2005. Our main job was to do logistics. So we were to go to Iraqi police stations, help them set up make sure they knew weapon safety, that they were paying their guys the correct amount of money. They would call us and say, "Hey, we're gonna get attacked tonight," so we get up and go sit out at the IP station all night, and they wouldn't get attacked. But I remember the first time I went out on mission, I had like the white knuckle, like my hands were like stuck to the steering wheel. Very very nervous.
Yeah.
And 2-3 months go by, and you kind of get into a routine, and you figure out that life is this is life. Like, you're gonna get up, you're gonna go on mission, you're gonna come back from mission, you're gonna have downtime where that's kind of where I found like my whole fitness lifestyle, honestly. Before that, I had to just like basic army PT in the morning, and then with all the free time in between mission, I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym. So I started going to the gym, and I can remember being like the scrawny guy. I was kind of weak back then, and all my boys like, you got to take like supplements. Like, I'm not taking supplements. I'm going to be all natural. And lo and behold, I started taking supplements like the creatine and the protein, just to get a little stronger. And that first deployment was probably life changing in general. Like I had it kind of matured me a little bit on my own in a foreign country with just my brothers and sisters in arms. And like I said, I formed a bond with some guys that I'm still very, very close with today. And we went to the gym probably 5 days a week after chow. We would go sit down and let our food digest and then go lift, and built a little self-confidence in myself as I started to see myself getting stronger and growing. The deployment as a whole was successful. Nothing crazy. 12 long months in country, but it was good. Like, I don't have anything bad to say about it.
So you'd come back from that first deployment, Marcus, and you would head off to a very specialized school. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so we got back from Iraq in November of 2006, and we're standing in morning formation before PT, and they're like, hey, we need 2 volunteers to go to Lackland Air Force Base for this special dog school. I'm like, I don't even know what it is. I just want to get out of my unit, wanted to move on. So I raised my hand along probably like 50 other guys, and myself and a good friend of mine, Sergeant Young. We both got selected out of like 50 people to go to school. When we got to school, the school was called Specialized Search Dog School. So the difference between that and the regular K-9 school is you select your everyday K-9 police officers. Usually they have like either like a dog on a leash or like maybe a long leash, but there's some type of connection to the dog and the handler. And this program was specifically that we'd be off leash. So I'd be able to send my dog down like a road, like in Iraq or Afghanistan, and the dog would clear the road. I can call the dog over, the dog would come back, clear the other side of the road. The thought process behind it was, unfortunately, but fortunately, if the dog was to maybe find the bomb at 50, 60 meters away, maybe we lose a dog and not a dog and the handler, which is still sucks no matter what. But trying to preserve some type of form of life. But so we went to Specialized Search Dog School in Lackland from May 2007 till September 2007. And it was a ball. Like, I tell people all the time when I was in, like, I had the best job in the Army. I get to play with a dog all day. Like, dogs
it's incredible.
The dog's looking for a treat or a ball. They don't realize that the danger that's out there, which is amazing.
So take us through a day? Take us through a day of what that school was like working with the dogs, Marcus.
So early wake up. Like I said, we were in Lackland Air Force Base, which is San Antonio, Texas, in May, June, July. So it's extremely hot. So normally we would pull dogs by no later than maybe 5:30. So we're up at 4 o'clock or so to get to the kennels, pull dogs out. Normally we start with a rapport walk. So you got 2 dogs when you first started out with, and the goal was whatever dog you bonded with and built a better rapport with and work well together, you take that dog back to your home station to deploy with. So you go grab a dog. You usually go in, grab one dog, put that dog in the truck with the air conditioner, go grab your other dog, take the second dog you took out, and go for a walk. Maybe go for like a half-mile walk. Just you and the dog, talking to the dog's getting to go out, smell, poop, pee, do dog things. But like, I got a handler, this guy's taking care of me. You go back, you lift that dog up, put him in the trailer, take the other dog out, do another rapport walk. And then from there, it might be go out to a building and start working on search problems. We had 3 instructors, 2 Army instructors, and 1, I think he was Austrian. They definitely from Europe, but they were really good instructors, and they would run problems, and the problem might be, hey, go in this building, search the whole entire first floor, and find the explosive that they planted, usually like a stick of dynamite, smokeless gunpowder, TNT, whatever they had. Then you come out, you put that dog up, and you grab the next dog, you get back in line, and go do the problem again. And it literally was just searching and playing, and then at no point were you supposed to just be standing around. Either you were watching another dog run to learn how to identify how the dog's behaviors, or you were spending time with one of your dogs to build that relationship of I'm your handler. I am in a sense, I am everything. You are everything to me. I give you water, I give you food. You're gonna help protect me and save my life, and we're gonna have a great relationship. And it was fun. It was extremely fun. The last 2 weeks, you go to Yuma, Arizona. They literally rented a Greyhound bus, and they took out all the back seats, and we stacked them with like dog kennels. Packed all the dogs into this Greyhound bus with like the 10 handlers that we're in class with, and we took a bus ride from San Antonio to Arizona. Obviously, someone drove. They hired a bus driver. We stop every few hours, let the dogs out. So you pull one dog out, walk them, put that dog up, get another dog. And the first week in Yuma is night training from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. It was miserable because we were all tired and trying to figure out the time change, even from San Antonio to Arizona, on top of just being up all night.
Right.
And then the second week is day training, where you actually do a real world problem, where they have helicopters that they have there, and you familiarize your dog with the helicopter. You have the dog walk up, smell the helicopter, just know that the helicopter isn't going to hurt it.
Right.
Get back in line. The next time they start the propellers, you walk the dog up. The dog has to kind of realize the propellers aren't going to hurt it. You're petting her. You're reassuring the dog. You get off. You come back on the third time, and the third time you actually go on a helicopter ride. And this is awesome. They do a map of the earth, so the helicopter's like kind of surveying the land. They land. And they built like a mock village in Yuma, Arizona, where you do a problem, where you search like a village that's supposed to be like Afghani or Iraqi village. And while you're searching, they go back, they pick up the next guy. So by the time you get done searching, another guy's getting dropped off, and you're getting picked back up and going back. And that's how missions worked when we were downrange. We get picked up, get on the helicopter, fly somewhere, search, get picked back up, go home. Do it all again in a day or so. So it was fun. It was great training. A lot of good times.
That's incredible. Thank you for taking us through that.
Oh, no problem.
You would go on to be paired with a dog named Elly. Talk to us about how that came to be.
Oh, my goodness. So, like I mentioned earlier, you're given 2 dogs at the beginning of class. We were the last class of the physical year in the Army. The physical year in the Army ends in October, unlike the regular New Year, which is December, January, December. Our physical year in the Army ends in October. So we were the last dog class for that year. So a lot of our dogs were washback dogs that had been in the program in prior classes that either maybe they were too young, too immature, they just didn't vibe right with the handlers, so they put them back into the pool, and then they sat around until the next class came through and pulled them out. So I probably had like 5 or 6 dogs that just didn't go well. Either the dog was too dependent. Back then I was like 22, 23, so I was 100 miles per hour, so I needed a 100 miles per hour dog also. So, because we all had different demeanors, and Sergeant Hayward back then was full speed ahead like a torpedo. So, I remember I went and got like a white lab one day. Hey, go get this white lab, take it to the yard and just kind of play catch with it. Build a little rapport, see how it does. And we're playing fetch, and the dog tilted over and had a seizure. I had to literally run, pick the dog up, run back to the vet. The dog was fine. They said, oh, well, he can't be a working dog, and they retired him out. He probably went to a lovely family and got to live a regular dog life. But my buddy, Sergeant Young, that I went to canine school with from Georgia, from Fort Stewart, Georgia, he had 2 dogs at the time. He had his dog, Guero, and Elly. And they said, hey, Sergeant Young, the instructor of our class was very close friends with our kennel master. He said, I cannot send you guys back without good dogs, because your kennel master come looking for me. He knows me, I know him. Like, I got to do you guys justice. Sergeant Young, you got lucky you picked 2 good dogs. Can you let Sergeant Hayward have one of your dogs? So he said, okay, I'll give him Elly. And I'm not even going to lie. Like, I was like, oh, I don't want Elly. He was, like, even though I was high-strung, she was high-strung. She was a Belgian Malinois. which they're naturally like high strung police working dogs. They go like, I mean, they're great dogs working because they'll work until they can't work anymore. A lot of times you have to like almost like plead with them, like, come on, like we're done working, because they'll just keep going. And she was super skinny, so she probably was like 9 months when I got her. She was a rut of the litter, so she had some health issues. They thought they were going to lose her a few times when she first was born. Thank God they didn't. She was a tail beater, so she used to wag her tail in the cage, and it was so bad they ended up cutting it, so she had a little nub. And I had like these German shepherds that were like big and strong, and other dogs, and even cute little like golden labs that was like the perfect like search dog, but just didn't blend in.
Yeah.
And I remember they gave me Elly, and the first day I pulled her, we were playing catch on one side of the building that we're searching, and Sergeant Young's on that side of the building playing catch, and he screams at his dog like, "Good job!" And Elly hears him and runs for him because he still is recognizing Sergeant Young as her. And I'm like, "No, like come back!"
No.
And they're like, Sergeant Hayward, when Sergeant Young's around, you can't have Elly around. Like you guys can't be together. And it's like, okay. But by the end of the class, we were one of the top dog teams in the class. So she carried me through a lot. She was a very, very good dog. Very, very good.
That's incredible. Marcus, where would you and Elly go on to deploy to?
So upon graduation, we returned back to Fort Stewart, Georgia, where I was stationed at, and we deployed to Iraq in March of 2008. We weren't supposed to deploy. Another good buddy of mine, he had a certification. So every 6 months, you have to certify with your dog. It's like a 3 or 4 day process where you're running different problems. They bring a kennel master from a different kennel that doesn't know your dog, doesn't know you. They set up problems for you, and you have to run the problem successfully to prove that you and the dog are proficient. And unfortunately, at that time, a good buddy of mine, he failed cert. And you're like, oh, he failed cert. Your cert's still good. You're deploying next month. So, like, he failed cert in February. I ended up deploying in March. And it was awesome. I deployed back to northern Iraq, this time all over. I was based out of Fob Warhorse in northern Iraq, but I would support Fob Caldwell, other Fobs. And when I got in the country, met some really great guys, other great dog handlers. So when you're a dog team, you get like on a plane. Usually it's like a cargo plane that's taking cargo from usually like maybe like Dover, Delaware to Iraq or wherever it's going. So I got to Dover. We flew from Dover to Road to Spain, hung out in Spain for like 2 days. And then from Spain, we flew into Baghdad. From Baghdad, we got taxed up to northern Iraq. And we worked with everybody. We worked with infantry, Cav scouts, combat engineers. I was fortunate enough that we went over to the SF compound, their little safe house. I'm like, hey, we're a dog team. We can find bombs. You guys do missions, or you guys need someone to find bombs and clear ways. And we kind of demo for them, and they're like, yes, we'll take you. So they call us and say, hey, we got a time-sensitive mission where we need to grab a dog tomorrow, take them to one of our other ODA houses, and then they'll stay there for a night. We'll brief them on the mission. We'll use the dog team, and then we'll come back and we'll bring them back. And it was awesome. I can remember our first mission as a dog team with an ODA, with a special forces team. Like, hey, we're gonna get a helicopter. We're gonna land in this village. You guys are gonna run like 10 meters out from the helicopter, so you're clear of the propellers. You're gonna take a knee, and when the helicopter takes off, we're gonna assault the target. So me and Elly get on. She's hanging out. We get off the helicopter. We run out 10 meters. I take a knee, and she's so like startled by the helicopter. She keeps running, and I'm on my back, and she's dragging me to pop back up. And they're like, "You okay, dog?" No one ever knows their name. You're either Elly, the dog's name, or your dog, or your dog guy. They're like, "You okay, dog guy?" I'm like,
dog guy. That's awesome.
And so I corral her up, I'm holding her. Birds take off. We assault the area. We find some bad guys. We get back on the helicopter, go home. But I'm like, Elly, the first mission, I said you pull me like another 5 meters on my back.
Oh my gosh!
But I mean, that was probably like her second helicopter ride since the Yuma experience.
Yeah, right.
Been started again. By the time we left country, she was like itching to get on and off helicopters because she just knew like I'm going in a helicopter. I get to go for a ride. The wind in my face,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So.
Marcus, so talk to us a little bit about like what was kind of her care like, while she was on deployment with you like that in Iraq? Like, what did that look like? Is she staying with you 24/7? Like, are you all of her care, feeding, grooming, whatever it is? Like, what does that look like?
So, being a canine handler is an amazing job. You get a lot of cool perks, a lot of cool different things. So when I got to Fob Warhorse, they had set up a little compound. It was a dog compound. Like you had to knock on the door to get in. There's like a giant gate, and we each had our own separate room. Which, like, when I deployed as a military police officer, you shared a room with your battle buddy, and there were smaller rooms. Like, here I am, I had my own room. I had a little TV, bed. Elly had her corner with her kennel crate, and a nice little like doggy bed, and we enjoyed life. And the care was normally I get up. I take her out to the break area. She use the bathroom. I bring her back in. She eat. I lock her up. I go eat. Okay. And then when it got hot in the summer, we actually changed so we sleep all day. If we didn't have mission, we sleep. So I mean, we said we were going to sleep from about 7 a.m. to about 3 p.m. So we sleep during the hottest part. We get up. We go work out. We come back. We go to eat. Then we run problems for dogs, little practices if we were on a mission to keep them proficient. And we used to do that around 5 o'clock in the evening when the sun was starting to go down. It wasn't as hot. A lot of times when you're in country, especially in those hot months, like if Elly worked on Monday, she couldn't work again until at least Wednesday or Thursday. Okay. They had to have that downtime. They fortunately, we know and we try our best to treat them like dogs they are, which are delicate animals. During my first deployment, they were training dogs. They were training soldiers from a different brigade. I don't remember the brigade, but they were given like cooks and engineers and different. They were tasking them, hey, you guys are gonna be dog handlers this deployment, because they wanted to bring their own dogs. Because what happens is, like I said, I had to be on a mission. My dog will work on Monday, and someone will request my dog, and I say, hey, I cannot give you Elly. We cannot work together because she needs downtime. And they hated no. No one wants to hear no. And I mean, I understand why. But you have to be safe. So these battalions and brigades, like, hey, we're going to train our own dogs that we can use whenever we want. And they got into country, and we spent, so myself and the other dog handlers that were in country, we spent about a month getting them up to speed, running through the problems. Here I am, a sergeant, and I'm training someone else to do, and it wasn't even in my job description, but we've been tasked this big task to make sure that they were ready to go when they hit the ground. So I actually got tasked to be a killer master, which is not in my pay grade. Also, I left Fob Warhorse, and I went up to Fob Caldwell, where they had this giant I guess garage, like wooden garage. And hey, we're gonna use some 2x4s and some tools. You build your own room. So we built our own room, put the walls up. Me and another guy. Luckily, the guy that I took with me, that was a dog handler from the battalion. He was an engineer, so he knew the schematics. So we built it. And here I am at E5. Now, usually your killer master is at E7. He's a sergeant first class. And I'm having to report to a lieutenant colonel. And the lieutenant colonel's like, I want a dog team every day. And I'm like, sir, I can't give you a dog team. Like, I have to be like the dog, just like your troops need rest, dogs need rest. And the difference is, like, you can kind of push a troop to work. Once that dog is done, that dog is done. You know. Yeah. We don't want to risk that. So it was some growing pains, but it also prepared me, just like, mentally. Like, I was very I just knew, like, I knew what I was doing. I understood my job. I understood the importance of it, and it gave me a sense of confidence as a handler to go on and help out other handlers. So it was a cool experience, to say the least.
What do you remember most about that first tour with Elly in Iraq? What stands out the most today, Marcus?
So we were in northern Iraq, and they have something called Palm Grove, which is like a giant field of just palm trees. And when we were training in school, we never had Palm Grove. We always had like a clear path. You always had like, hey, I'm going to take this path, so I know like this side is clear or this side is clear. And Palm Grove, there's no path. It is just zigzag and hoping. And we called it controlled chaos, because we had, like, it just literally is you're sitting dog and luckily dogs have such great noses, the dogs that we had, that even if it was to the left 50 meters, if they caught scent, they'd go find it. And it was just, literally just walking through trees where there might be tripwires, etc. And the dogs were just amazing at just catching and noticing things. But it was controlled chaos that first deployment, because every mission was something crazy, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It was a dull moment. It was very like, even though it was chaotic at times, it was always a level of like subtleness and calm to it.
Okay.
I can remember one mission. We had to pass like a culvert, like a dried out riverbed, and it was like it was a drop, and we had no way to do it. But they found this ladder that was like at the house. And they threw the ladder over the gap, and we had to crawl over the ladder. It's like, all right, I'm gonna crawl over this ladder, which is sketchy enough for me, but now I have to figure out how to. And they're like, listen, like, sorry, hey, if we have to, we can like D-ring and we'll go get your dog if she falls. Like, I don't need my dog to fall. Like, I need
right.
to get across this ladder. And here's what Elly was amazing. Elly had we call it a ball drop, like dogs love a ball. Like, she sees the ball, she
Yeah.
the ball, like she'll chase the ball through a brick building.
Right. Yeah.
So I crawled over and I literally said, bounce the ball, come Elly, and she, like a gymnast, just over the ladder and got across it. I'm like, she did it way faster than I did it easily. Like, I mean, not even like, I was thinking the whole time, like, don't fall.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I get rescued, and she just ran right over it.
You want to talk about phenomenal athletes, right?
I'm like, come on, like, effortlessly. Yeah, a lot of cool experiences that deployment, to say the least.
So you would go on, Marcus, to deploy for a third time and a second time with Elly in Afghanistan. Talk to us about that Afghanistan deployment with Elly.
Yeah, so we returned back to Georgia in February 2009. And while I was deployed, I had two battle buddies. The guy that had failed cert, he ended up passing cert and deploying later on to Afghanistan. And my buddy Sergeant Young, I went to K-9 school with, he went to Afghanistan also. Majority of dog teams that go to Afghanistan are paired strictly with like a SF team, like ODA. Okay. So it's kind of cool because your SOCON teams, they do things differently. You know, they get the beers, they get the cool weapons, they get the cool uniforms. They don't look conventional.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you're attached to them, you get those same perks. So here, my buddy Sergeant Young has like a full-grown beard, sending me pictures. I'm in Iraq, and I have to still shave because I'm still working with conventional and SOCON. So I wasn't allowed to look like that. So, and then also with deploying with SF, when you look at your ERB, which is like your evaluation as a sergeant or as an NCO, there's certain checkpoints you want to have, and like being a military police officer, then having a specialty, whether it was K9, SWAT, whatever it might be, you want that specialty, and then with that specialty, you want to have certain bullet points. So a bullet point would be being deployed, etc. So like I was checking all those bullet points, and the last bullet point was literally go to Afghanistan, work with the ODA. Okay. Upon that time, had things went differently, I would have probably returned and either went to be a drill sergeant or been a K-9 handler back in life in the Air Force Base, like my buddy Sergeant Young did.
Right.
But we got to country. We were attached to a third Special Forces group out of Fort Bragg. We got into country in April, and I can tell you for the first time in like, this is like 6 years into my career, for the first time 6 years in my career, since my first day in Iraq on mission, I was like, there was a lot of uncertainty on like what's going to happen. Like, just talking to like the outgoing handlers that were leaving, and some of like the missions they were doing, I just was like, man, this is not like what I've been doing for the last 2 deployments. Like, this is completely different. And it just kind of humbled me a little bit. Like, hey, like I have to be aware that I am still somewhat invincible, and I'm not invincible. And I got to my ODA team. And then like it was so interesting. I got to my ODA team and I said, you guys are like the stepchildren of Special Forces. So they were tasked to live in a what had been a Chinese school, I guess when the Chinese were occupying in Afghanistan.
Really?
So they were in a Chinese school that they had barricaded with like the big tarmacs, like all the big sandbags and everything. And they had no AC. No AC whatsoever. Like, here's April, and they had no bed, so we were sleeping on the cot with like a mosquito net over it because there were definitely creatures crawling around at night. And the way we got food was they'd have probably like once a week if we were lucky, but probably more like every 2 weeks they'd have a C-17 or C-17, C-05 fly over, tilt back, and drop out the sky, and then we'd have to get on our ATVs and go out.
Go and retrieve it.
cut, yeah, and they bring it back in. I'm like, you guys are supposed to, like my buddies that had to play assets, like, man, we got flat screen TVs, 6 refrigerators full of Gatorade. We had none of this stuff. I'm like, what did I do to deserve this mission? And but they were such good guys, but they just got the raw end of the stick.
Yeah.
For sure. And we got in the country in April. I linked up with the team by about the middle of April. And our mission was village stability platform. So our mission was, we were supposed to blend in with like the locals. So they wanted us kind of dressed in like the full outfits, but we didn't do it. But we were trying to build a village stability platform. So we wanted them to be able to take up their own arms, be able to protect themselves against whether it was the Taliban, whoever, be able to protect themselves and just to be able to establish. And it's like I said, it's just so different. Like in Iraq, you had homes, you had buildings. There were certain parts of Iraq where you could go, and they were very nice that we would go and be able to walk around and have dinner. And there was nowhere like that in Afghanistan. The places that we were in, they were still living almost like in mud huts. They had like the sunlight during the day and then candles at night. It was just, very, very third world. But like we did our mission. We go out, we assist and help, and we called our team captain Mullah Mike, because he was all about like the people. Like, you're Mullah Mike. Like, whatever they want, you'll give. Like, but we need to get something back in return. We were doing our mission, and then about 4 months in, July 2010, we were out on mission. Unfortunately, we were out supporting a sister ODA that was probably about a half an hour away, that had gotten to a little bit of contact and had lost 2 teammates that day, unfortunately. And we went out and we had secured the area, secured the LZ for the helo to come in and pick them up and take them out. And we were on our way back home, actually. And we probably were no more than maybe a 5-minute ride from home. And we had a pressure plate IED. We were on the little Polaris side-by-side ATV. So you have a driver's side, a passenger side, and then in the back you have like an open hatch. And the weapons sergeant was driving. I was on the passenger side, and Elly was in the back hanging out, actually. And the way it's been kind of explained to me, because I don't remember much of it, rolled over the pressure plate with the driver's side wheel, sent a charge to the middle, came up in between us. So when the smoke cleared, came up in between the gearbox between me and the driver. The smoke cleared. The driver kind of crawled away and was okay, and I was pinned underneath the ATV. And for a minute, they thought I was gone. Like, they were like, oh, he didn't make it, unfortunately. And I guess I started to moan or groan. They kind of realized, oh, no, he's still alive. And I think it's a blessing that I was working with an ODA, because the medic there definitely helped save my life. We're still today. He wrote me a long time ago, after everything for Cyber and like that experience made me realize like how much I want to save lives, and he's now a doctor today. So
that's incredible.
Amazing, such an amazing guy. But they were able to stabilize me. They had pararescue, which is the Air Force's version of like special forces, but they basically fly into like a hot zone. They'll land and they'll have you, for the most part, stabilized by the time you get to wherever you're going. So I was in southern Afghanistan, so they got to me, stabilized me, got me to Kandahar. In Kandahar, I was put into a medically induced coma from all the injuries I had sustained, and then transferred to Landstuhl, Germany, where I woke up about 2 days later.
What do you remember when you woke up?
So when I woke up, I guess they had talked to my mother and my wife, who back then was my girlfriend, and they had an option of, do you want him to be asleep for the plane ride home, or do you think it'd be better if he was woke up? I guess they chose to wake me up. I'm not sure why they chose to wake me up, but they chose to wake me up. And the way they wake you up is they kind of slowly take you off whatever the drip is that's in the coma. And when I woke up, no one was in the room, but I still had the tube down my throat.
Oh, jeez.
I literally pulled the tube out of my throat. And I guess they ran in and were like, what are you doing? And I had like this tube hanging out of my mouth. It could have been bad. Could have like really like, messed up my esophagus and my trachea.
Yeah, for sure.
Fortunately, I didn't. And they're like, you've been in the IED blast. And at this point, my left eye is patched, my left leg is wrapped. And I just kind of like sat back. I was like, oh, okay. I'm in Germany, and fortunately I had my old roommate that I roomed with at Fort Stewart was in Italy. He dropped everything. His command let him come. He was there.
Wow.
Some old battle buddies from my first deployment were there, and they all were like in the room, like when I woke up.
Oh my gosh.
Once I woke up and they got me situated, they all came.
Yeah.
And even like the team guys had sent like their commander, who was, some of the guys. I had so many people come that I didn't even know, like, hey, we heard about you. The guys, and like, just want to say we're happy you're okay. And it was interesting because I had a high school girlfriend that showed up. Actually, she was a nurse in the Army, and she's like, Marcus, you're all over Facebook. And I'm like,
no kidding. Oh my gosh, good grief.
So, but no, I woke up August 1st. Like I ended July 20th. I woke up August 1st.
Okay.
And I have an older brother. His birthday's July 30th. And a younger sister. Her birthday's July 31st. And I'm like, what day is it? And they're like, it's August 1st. I'm like, no. And like, what's wrong? Like, I missed my sibling's birthday. And they're like, you just got blown up. That's what you're worried about? And I'm like, those are some of my best friends. So I was really bummed out that I missed their birthdays. But, obviously they were more concerned with me at that moment. But, yeah, so I spent like a day in Germany awake, and then they put me on a plane and flew me to Walter Reed to start that whole, recovery process.
What would happen to Elly that day in the IED blast, Marcus?
So she's gonna have to explain this to me one day. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2021 after 14 years. But when the blast happened, she jumped off like immediately. I'm not sure how, like in the blink of a second. Between where the blast was and where she's located, she literally jumped off the ATV. So when the smoke cleared, she was clear of the blast. She kind of was circling, worried, obviously, kind of figure out what's going on. But she was fine. The team guys, they were able to kind of corral her and have her situated while they tended to me. She would end up probably staying in country for about 2 months, just because they won't send a dog home by itself. So my buddy Sergeant Young, again, who had been in country also, we kind of always were aligned together. He was going to R&R, and they said, hey, Sergeant Young, stop, get Elly on your way to Bagram before you go home, and then take Elly to see Sergeant Hayward. So they gave him a few extra days. So he flew to Dover, drove up to Walter Reed, and got to see me at the hospital. So I was in the wheelchair. She almost knocked me out of my wheelchair to say hi to me. And then from there, they drove her back. Sergeant Young drove her back to Fort Stewart, where she was there for about a year while I recovered. I had to also do a bit of fighting and litigation to get her retired. When I got injured and I was at Walter Reed, you have all these dignitaries come and see you, and the Secretary of the Army came and saw me. And he was like, "I'll take a picture with you." And my mom's like, "Sure." And I'm like, "No." I'm beat up. I had a haircut, and who knows how long. I was a shell of myself. I'm like, "No, we can't have a picture. Like, I'm sorry, sir. Like, I'm not picture ready."
Yeah.
A few months later, he came back, and I guess he remembered like the one guy that said no to him.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure
they're like,
did.
"Hey, Secretary of the Army's here again, and he'd like to take a picture with you." I'm like, okay, one stipulation, I'll give you a picture, but you gotta give me something back in return. He's like, what do you need? Like, I want to retire my dog. They want to send my dog back to Lackland Air Force Base. And he's like, all right, well, contact my secretary, who's like a sergeant first class. Like, you got a senior non-commissioned officer who's your secretary. That's just crazy to me. But I was in contact with the sergeant first class. My second appointment while I was deployed, my buddy Sergeant Kenny, he was injured on a mission. We were both on a mission with our dogs, and we were leapfrogging each other, searching villages. And he went inside. He went on the outside of the house, and Iraqi police went inside the house. The house blew up. The house fell on him and the dog.
Oh.
They both survived. He ended up retiring, but when he got injured, he said, "Hey, I want." His dog's name was Hans, cute little German Shepherd. He said, "I want Hans," and he had to go through all this paperwork to get Hans. So when they were gonna send Elly back, I wrote him. I said, "Hey, like, what'd you do?" He's like, "I'm gonna send you the bill." So he sent me the same exact bill, and basically the bill said, like, if you're deployed with a dog and you have successful deployment, and then you deploy again, and you guys go to a traumatic event together, you have every right to retire the dog. So this whole process took about 9 months.
Oh man! And this was while you were at Walter Reed. You were doing this.
Mm-hmm. So September 2011, she was retired. I got granted leave. I flew to Fort Stewart. We had a whole award ceremony. She got pinned. And then Secretary of the Army with me said, "Hey, like, I appreciate you taking the time to do it. I just want you to know you are the first Army dog handler that's been awarded his dog after being injured. Kind of set the precedence for what we look for when we are going to do it." And I'm like, I don't want that responsibility, but okay. But I mean, super grateful. So she got retired in September of 2011.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for your service to our great country, Marcus. And we certainly thank Elly, too, and all the working dogs out there. And talk to us a little bit, Marcus, about that time while you were at Walter Reed going through rehabilitation.
Oh man, it was a like and everything. I try to keep a positive outlook. It was a good experience, to say the least. They come up to, like, I was still you go from ICU to trauma, so I got moved up to trauma, and they come up and they say, hi, like, I'm your physical therapist, I'm your occupational therapist, I'm gonna take care of you, get you moving again. Let's just get you like standing up, and they stand you up, and you're like, oh boy, because I hadn't been up and out of bed in like almost a month. Like, okay, now we're gonna take you down to the MATC, which is the Military Advanced Training Center, where all the amputees are, doing recovery. So they wheel you down, and you get wheeled into this room, and you see guys and gals, brothers in arms and sisters in arms, missing limbs, arms, whatever, and they're push-ups, walking, running, climbing, whatever. And you're like, okay, I can do this. Like, if they're doing it, I can do it. And that's all it took. So I was in PT twice a day. I get up at 7. I drag my wife. I'm like, you're going to PT. She would like to sleep. And I'm like, no, we're not sleeping. We're going to PT. We're going to PT from like 7 to like 8 or 9. Go back. I usually would take a nap because I was exhausted from PT. Go to lunch, and then we go back to PT after lunch. I do like 2 sessions. And the goal was just to get walking again. Like I said, I got injured July 29th. My last surgery was like August 5th, and then by like September 7th, 8th, I was like in the socket. Like they don't baby you, which is an amazing thing. They're like, hey, you're in the Army, like you're a Marine, you're in the Air Force, like go. I was probably 24, 25. My therapist Julie, she was probably the same age, and she had been doing it, and she was not like, oh, poor you. She's like, no, let's go, like let's get moving, which I thank her for. And I didn't want to fall. Like I just did not want to fall. Like learning to walk, and I didn't want to fall. And she's like, fall, just like fall. She would like kind of, and I would fight it so much. And I had a wheelchair, so I would walk to the bus, get on the bus that's inside Walter Reed, take the bus to the training facility. But I had my wife bring my wheelchair. So a lot of times after physical therapy, I'd just be exhausted. So I'd plop in the wheelchair, get pushed to breakfast or lunch or whatever. And one day I said, I'm not going to bring my wheelchair. I'm not going to bring it. This is going to be the day. So I did a very, very long workout, treatment session. And she's like, you're good? Like, have a good day. I'll see you this afternoon. And I'm like, good. And the way they worked at Walter Reed, the MATC, it was a giant room. And on the room was outside glass that you can see outside, and then there's another glass to a hallway, and that's where they have. It was like if you're at the aquarium and you can see all the fish. You'd have like, because they had donors and people that would come and support, and they can see like, hey, this is our MATC, this is where our wounded veterans are working out, and they can see like the process of what was going on. And I got done with PT. I didn't have my wheelchair. I had my cane. I walked out of PT. And there's like a group of like people like in like 3-piece suits looking into the MATC, and I'm walking behind them, and I just eat it. I just fall, and that was fine. I think my ego was hurt the most. But I came back in the afternoon, and I'm like, Julie, I fell, and she's like, yes.
Like, I knew that was coming.
She's like, you fell, and you didn't do it while you were with me, so I didn't have to do paperwork. I'm like, oh, like, okay, thank you so much. But it was a cool experience. They do such a great job, and you don't know about it unless you are encountering someone that's been injured or you injured yourself. They do such a great job of pushing you, hopefully, to get back to sense of normalcy. Like I remember, so I have my retina from my left eye was detached when I got injured, so I had to detach it. My lens was severely injured and saved my eye. And I believe in Kandahar, they took out the lens because there's so much inflation. I had an artificial lens put in, and then my cornea, which is like the windshield to your car, they had to replace that. So I have a cornea replacement. So I can remember like thinking like, I can't drive, I only got one eye. And the recreation therapist is like, oh, we're going for a drive today. I'm like, in DC? It's like, yeah, get in the car, let's go. Like they don't baby you at all. They don't baby you at all. But it was a great experience. I met a lot of people that I'm still in contact with today. We've built great relationships. I spent 2 years because I had multiple eye surgeries. and other things going on. I spent 2 years basically going through recovery, which led me to when I moved to Florida. I became a physical therapist assistant for a little while, for about 7 years. I said, you know what, I want to help people move like people help me move. So it was, I mean, take everything good from it also.
Right. Marcus, talk to us about finding out about Catch a Lift while you were at Walter Reed.
Who told me about Catch a Lift? I think there was another soldier. Because I was a big gym guy, and I was like, I need to go to the gym. Like, where you want to go? I'm like, well, the gym here, I got to either catch the bus, because by then I had moved off of base, and I had a little apartment. I'm like, the gym here is closed, and I got to catch a bus. Like, oh, well, you can go to LA Fitness. Like, well, like, but there's Catch a Lift. They'll pay for it. I'm like, what? They'll post Catch a Lift. And like, listen, write them, you know, tell them who you are, explain your situation. So while I was in basically probably the last 18, 12 months, I was in Maryland. They covered my whole gym membership for me to LA Fitness. And I was going to LA Fitness. At one point I was going to LA Fitness, then we moved across town from Silver Spring to Rockville, Maryland. And in Rockville, Maryland, I could throw like a football from my house I got a Gold's Gym membership to Gold's Gym. And I was going to Gold's Gym like twice a day. And I mean, it was all, you know, Catch a Lift made it all possible. So I was super, super thankful. And then we moved to Florida. I started going to LA Fitness again, and they covered that. And then eventually I started doing CrossFit. But when I walked into the CrossFit gym, one owner was a firefighter, and the other owner was a special needs teacher. So they were just super awesome people. And they're like, thank you for your service. Like, just come whenever you want. Don't worry about paying us. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I give you like something, like we won't take any money from you. So
that's incredible.
At that point, you know, I didn't have to ask Catch a Lift, even though I know they would have supported. But I mean, the people at Crazy Train CrossFit, they were like, come work out. Like, we just want to thank you for your service. So, you know, it's amazing.
That's tremendous. Marcus, talk to us about CrossFit in your life.
Oh man, it's a big part of my life. It's a big part of just who I am as a person. So I found CrossFit during my second deployment when I was in Iraq with Elly. We went out to an SF house, and they were doing CrossFit because obviously a lot of these things are made by like, you know, people that were in like SOCOM that wanted like to up your training and not just do your basic global gym stuff, which I think is good. Like, if you're gonna do something, just move. I don't care if it's LA
absolutely.
Go gym, 24-hour, just move, be healthy. And but they were weird. They were weird. They were funny because they go do a CrossFit workout, like, you know, 21 pull-ups, 21 thrusters, and run. Then they go smoke a cigarette. And I'm like, like, no, like, that's not what you're supposed to do. But they were, you know, the SF guys were a different breed. So I did CrossFit during my second deployment. We usually would do like one CrossFit workout, and then we go back to the gym and do like a regular like bodybuilding workout because we had so much time on our hands. And when I got back home to Georgia, I didn't do CrossFit because I couldn't afford CrossFit's like $125, and I'm a lowly sergent paying rent and everything else. Like, I'm not paying for CrossFit.
Yeah.
I went back to the regular gym on post. Every now and then we go to like we'd have like a PT, and we go to like the bars and the push-up bars and dip bars outside. So we increment some of the CrossFit stuff into it. And then when I got to Afghanistan, we had no time. We had a mud hut with a bench that if you put 400 pounds on, I swore the bench would break. And we had no pull-up bar, but we had rebar through the mud hut, and we do pull-ups on the rebar. And so I do CrossFit. I do a CrossFit-esque workout. We go on mission where we walk around for 2-3 hours. I come back and I do like a bodybuilding workout. I got the better doing my time. And, to go back when I got injured, the doctors told my wife and my mom, and said, he's in great shape. That's kind of, attributed to him, surviving such a catastrophic event. So, like, I mean, I've always just felt like I wanted to be in shape because I felt like I had to be in shape to do my job. And then post-military, it's just a great way to live. And then where CrossFit comes into play is I look at it as such a great basis for functional movement in general.
Right. Yep.
Whether you're picking up groceries and carrying them upstairs, or if you're picking up a baby because you got kids at home, being able to pick yourself up. When I was in Iraq, we going through Palm Grove and we hit like a giant wall. So here I am. I had to pick up Elly, toss her over the wall. I got my whole kit on, my weapon. I had to pull myself up over the wall, and CrossFit was a great transition to that. Like, hey, if I can do pull-ups, muscle-ups, if I can do burpees and pick myself over the floor, I just moved better as a soldier. So when I got when I got the Army, when I got retired, I went back to LA Fitness, and I was in PTA school. I had a buddy of mine who was an ex-Marine. He was one of He was like, "Hey, this is gym called Crazy Train CrossFit. They love veterans. Just go by and introduce yourself." And I was like, "I'll go by and introduce myself." And I had been looking for a change because I had been going to LA Fitness for like about 2 years now down in Florida, and I had like I had no workout buddy. Like no one. I'm like, I'm going to the gym tomorrow at 5:00. You gonna be there? Yeah. 5:00 showed around. No one was there. So I had like I need a good workout buddy. And then in CrossFit, obviously there's multiple workout buddies if you go to class. So it just was like it's perfect pairing for me. Kind of made me feel alive again. Made me feel like in the suffering I was bettering myself away. So
talk to us about being a competitive CrossFit athlete, Marcus.
I don't think it was ever my intention to, honestly. One of the coaches, John was like, if you want to do something, I'll help you do it. And he kind of pushed that. And then the other coach, Jenny, she had been a regional competitor. I didn't even know about regionals or anything at this point. I just knew like the CrossFit games that you saw on TV or you saw on like YouTube or whatever every now and then. But I didn't know. I knew like the Rich Fronings, the big names, but I didn't know like, all the levels of it. And I'm down here in South Florida in Lake Worth. She's like, hey, there's this competition called Wadapalooza. This is early. This is 2014, 15. So Wadapalooza is still like still kind of revving it up to what it is now. It's
okay.
Like, you should sign up for Wadapalooza. They're doing an adaptive division. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. And there's a young lady, Steph Hammerman, who kind of was like the pioneer, the kind of the trailblazer for that. And she put it together. And I emailed her. She's like, yeah, like come on down. Like you're come on down and compete. And that was like my first time like on like a stage where like people were like watching me work out. It was borderline a dog and pony show because we had like different elements all on one floor. So
right.
It was co-ed, and it was more like, oh, look what we can do. It wasn't the what it is now where it's like literally like we are competing because we want to be the fittest on earth.
Right.
But it kind of like that one experience. I remember back then it was Progenics was like the big sponsor. And Jason Khalifa and Miranda Alderoy were there, and they were like kind of like the big MCs, and like they were like, hey, like how did the athletes come like meet everyone and like say hi? So like we're like hanging out in the Progenics tent, they're giving us shakes, and like she like Miranda like MC'd our final event. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
For the community and everything else, and from there I just was like, okay, like I'm gonna train because I'm gonna show up to these things. I'm gonna be like, I'm not, so. I enjoy it. Every year I say I'm going to retire because I'm 38 now, which to me is like old in CrossFit. Even though we got bachelors, right? But I'm like, I'm old. Like, I can't keep up with these youngins. And every year I find myself back on the competition floor, just like enjoying it. So my wife's like, why are you doing this? And like, I've done Wadapalooza like 4 or 5 times down in Miami. And it's, it's a 3-day event. And my wife's like, it's so stressful. I'm like, you're not the one working out. Like, why are you stressed out? Like, it's stressful watching you suffer. I'm like, but I'm okay. Like it's okay. So, I love it.
That's awesome. Marcus, what goals do you have this year? Like this year are kind of coming up fitness wise.
Oh man. So I don't have necessarily goals. So I did Wadapalooza in January.
Okay.
I started teaching this year. I became a high school teacher this year. And it's been one of the most humbling and challenging experiences of my life. And in that, like, in my previous job as a physical therapist, I would work different hours. So, like, Mondays I would go to work at, like, 12:30. So I can get up, drop the kids off at school, spend a good 12 hours training in the daylight, and then go to work and carry on my day. Whereas now, I have to be at school at 7:30. I'm getting home maybe between 4:35, depending on the day. And now I'm still trying to get the kids maybe situated on homework. If it's my night, they cooking dinner, and then getting in the garage and working out. And it's a whole other level of like fatigue at this point compared to fresh in the morning. So it's been a challenge. But like when I signed up for Wadapalooza, I signed up as a team. We did team, and I had to be accountable to my teammates. So I'm not sure. I know there's a few competitions. The Atlantic Coast Classic in Daytona, they have an adaptive division. I believe there's one somewhere else in Florida. And I have a few buddies that are like, come to like Spain or go to Mexico. They're doing it big in there. And I'm like, well, I need a passport for that. And I gotta figure out travel. But I'm not sure. I mean, my goal is always to be competition ready, but also like I mean, in general, working out is my safe place, my safe haven. So when I'm not competing, I'm still full steam ahead. It makes me probably a better version of myself. My wife would tell me to go work out because I'm fussy. So not 100% sure. I have about 2.5 months left of school, so I want to kind of finish out school, and then I've never been off for a whole summer, so I don't know what that.
Right, what'll that bring exactly?
Where I bring out probably bring a lot more training for one, trying to figure out, but just to be in the best shape possible. Like I've it's amazing. Like, even though I say like I'm old, like I feel like I'm getting better still. Yeah. Which is a blessing, and to keep getting better. You know, I often say, and we're not the same person at all. But I'm 38 and LeBron James is 38, and we're like a month apart. If he can do it,
there you go.
So
I love it. We'll see. I do want to ask you, Marcus, if you don't mind talking, if you tell us a little bit about your wife and what she's meant, you know, through all this time she's been with you and through your recovery and everything.
Oh man, so my wife's name is Elizabeth. She is amazing. So we met. Another short story. When I got back from my second deployment in 2009, and I got sent home about a month early for my second deployment in 2009 because unfortunately my dad had cancer, and they're like, you need to get home, like take care of your family. So I got home in February, and by June he passed away. So I remember I was hanging out with my childhood best friend. I'm like, I should take a vacation. I need to go somewhere. He said, let's go to Puerto Rico. Let's go to Puerto Rico. So it was like June, July. We bought tickets to go to Puerto Rico in September. And my wife, who's from West Palm Beach, was visiting family in Puerto Rico, and we bumped into each other. And I tried the whole "Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?" Tried to speak. She laughed at me, but it obviously was enough. But we started dating long distance. She was in West Palm Beach. I was in Fort Stewart, Georgia. So, 5-6 hour drive, a quick flight for most of the time. And I told her, I said, you have no idea what you're getting into. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I find bombs for a living. Like, I am not, like, this is not, like, there's military and then there's, like, crazy military. I'm border crazy military, It's like, no, it'll be okay. I'm like, all right. I'm like, and on top of that, like, I'm leaving next April to go to Afghanistan. She's like, okay. And we grew, we bonded. And she's like, okay, I'll be waiting when you come back. And I got injured. Yeah. And when I got injured, my mom of all people, bless her heart, calls her, and my mom's hysterical, so now she's hysterical.
Yeah.
They both. My mom flew from New Jersey down to DC. She flew from Florida up to DC, and I'll never forget. Like I had from the blast, I had like first degree burns, so my face was charred a little bit. They hadn't quite cleaned everything off, and I remember she walked into the room that I was in. She said, you still look good. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like I'm beat up. And she was amazing. She literally dropped everything that she had down here in Florida, and basically like it wasn't planned. But when she got there, I was like, well, you're not leaving. Like I got recovery to do. Yeah. To be here. So from August 2010 till now, she's been stuck with me. Just from me being injured and flying up to DC. And she's like my biggest cheerleader, obviously. Yeah. I stress her out the most with everything, but she's my biggest cheerleader. I often have friends that'll laugh at her though, because when I'm competing, she's not like I feel sorry for her. She's the pick it up. Let's go.
That's awesome.
We're like, she's dying right now. She's like, so hard.
Everybody's dying.
Up. Like I had a coach one year, my coach Becca, and she's like, oh, you like, we had like, I did a competition called Crush Games down here a long time ago, and they were Atlas stones, 100-pound Atlas stones. Pick them up, walk with them, like 5 deadlifts, pick them like up, and I'm like, this Atlas stone's like owning me, and I'm like, she's like, pick it up, and my coach Becca's like, I just felt so bad for you. She just like kept yelling at you. And I'm like, yeah, there's no, I walk around the house, I'm like, I can't do that shit. You do CrossFit, you can do it. Like, go replace life.
That's awesome.
She's not, she doesn't baby me, but no, she's like, she's amazing. She's very caring. But like I told her, I said when I first got injured, I said, you have no idea what you're getting into, and she didn't, but she just wrote it out. She accepted the stuff very quickly. Like I remember being in DC, I was 24, 25 years old, and here I am surrounded by other guys that are wounded or like 18, 19, fresh out of high school. I'm like, guys, you guys you guys haven't even lived life yet. Not that I've lived so much life, but it's I had been my third deployment. I had 2 successful deployments.
Yeah.
Like I had lived a little bit. I'm like, you guys, like, fresh out of high school, you guys haven't even, to a certain point, maybe had an identity of who you are, because you left high school where your identity was a high school kid. You Marines or Army or Navy, whatever, and now your identity is this. And you have, and I always tell people, no knock or nothing, but like when I joined the Army, I was Marcus Hayward. In the Army, I was Marcus Hayward with a title. When I got out the Army, I'm still Marcus Hayward. And a lot of times I feel like if you join and then things happen, you don't necessarily have an idea of who you are. Yeah. So she was really good at like letting me be who I was. Like, there was times where I was upset and she just kind of let me be upset. But there's times when I was happy and she was there at every PT session. When I fell, she was there picking me up and worried about me. I got, there's another organization out there that you guys probably heard of, Achilles. They do like the marathons, and they come recruit and, hey, come do a marathon. You're like, I can barely walk. They're like, no, we'll put you on a hand cycle. And, she'd be out at the finish line with her giant poster and, 5 o'clock in the morning, standing there with me, waiting for me to go off the start line. So I've dragged her through a lot of, like, whether it's CrossFit. We flew to Arizona for a CrossFit competition. And we flew to Arizona for a CrossFit competition, and she was like 6 months pregnant. She was like 6 months pregnant. We flew, and it was from Florida to Arizona, land Friday night, compete Saturday, and we flew back Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah, that's a.
She was not happy with me at all. And we flew back because the day after the competition was my birthday, and there was a concert, and I drug her to a Jay-Z concert to stand up for like another 3 hours. So she's
night. Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you for telling us about her, Marcus. I do have one last question for you today.
Sure.
What does it mean to you to be a catch lift veteran athlete?
Oh, I feel fortunate. You guys are such an amazing organization. To like, there's organizations that care about soldiers, and that's amazing. But then you guys are pushing like, hey, like I'm a big advocate for movement and being healthy and a lifestyle, and you guys provide so much, whether it's grants for gym membership, grants for gym equipment, programs for working out, nutrition programs, everything to be successful and be healthy. And that's not something that people just give away for free.
Right.
Like that's stuff that people pay thousands of dollars for monthly, ever to say, hey, like I have a nutritionist, I have someone that's telling me how to work out, that's allowing me to work out, and you guys are freely giving it to wounded veterans that have served the country. It's amazing. Because you guys don't have to do it. You can just say, oh, like, thank you for your service, and and I tell people also, when you join the Army or you join the military, you don't join to become famous or to be you join because it's a selfless job.
Right.
So when you have organizations like Catch a Lift that turn around and take that selflessness and give it back to people, I appreciate it tenfold. I appreciate it so much.
Well, we're so grateful to have you as a member of the Catch a Lift family, Marcus. Thank you so much for coming on today and talking with us.
Thanks so much, Marissa.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Coach's Corner. We're always so grateful to have the opportunity to connect with our members and heal through the stories of our veterans. A special thank you to Marcus for sharing his story and his light with us all today. It was absolutely terrific. Don't forget to join us every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. Eastern on YouTube for a chance to win Cal Swag and to chat with your brothers and sisters. If you liked today's episode, please be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and leave us a review on your favorite streaming service. Until next week, keep it real and stay Cal strong.